We are live
Start.
on the air. Here we have the great M and the great V, the bearded ladies. And we
Mhm.
have a very interesting topic for today, or at least V thinks so. M is just helping out.
I think
um,
it's good. I think it's good.
okay, well, then we both agree that it's a good topic. It is called How to Find Everlasting Love. And we're going to go back and forth a little bit here between each other's ideas of how to find love and what that looks like. And we're going to start really quickly with V, her account of it is called The One Thing You Need to Know About Finding Everlasting Love by the website DB and MH. And just really quickly, bullet points. And then we will switch on over and see what M has to talk about. So, really quickly, how to find everlasting love according to this website. Number one, it is a daily decision. So, it is something that you have to work on and choose to do every single day. So, that's a very interesting topic right there. Next, it is that you won't always like each other. I think that's very practical advice because you don't always fall in love with people every single day. Even if it's a daily decision, it happens sometimes that you aren't going to like each other. It just happens. That's just human nature. And last but not least, we have self love. You can't find everlasting love without finding everlasting self love first. So that is what we have so far from the DB and MH article. Anything else you want to add to that, M?
Oh no, sounds about right to me.
Okie dokie. So, did you want to add what you found? Um,
Um, um, just what I was looking up is that I think we get a little bit confused when it terms in love because love for one person may be different for love from another person. So pretty much what I was researching was the different types of love. Like you'll hear cheesily people being like, "No, that's agape love," or "That's like eros love." And for me, I was like, "This sounds like some cheesy mother shut your mouth stuff." So I
mhm,
looked it up, and actually, like psychologists do use these terms, but
mhm,
more so they use the terms of like types of relationships. Like I won't get into all of them, right?
mhm.
But we'll link all of the research that we done down below, so no worries about that. But I think what we're talking about today is more so consummate love and romantic love. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
All right. So that's where I'm going to end it.
Okay, all right, but real quickly, pardon my ignorance. What exactly is consummate love?
So consummate love, what they said was kind of like the ideal love where commitment is there, intimacy is there, and passion is there.
Okay.
So they made a whole bunch of different types of love. Some of them had passion, but no commitment or intimacy, whereas like consummate love got all of them.
Oh,
Whereas like romantic love is that there's intimacy and passion, but like no commitment, for example.
okay. I've heard of that before.
Mm-hmm.
What is her name? Shan Booty, I think, talks about the triangle
Mm-hmm.
and how different types of love. You have commitment, you have compassion, and what is it? Couples? Cons? What's it means if you're committed? I don't know. I know what I mean.
All right, you guys, if you know what we're talking about with Shambuti, please tell us in the comments below.
Yeah, tell us what we know.
All right.
Alrighty. Well, if that's the case, thank you for explaining. I'm sure I'm not the only one in the audience who is curious about what that one was exactly. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you for that. Real quickly, I'm just going to go on to my next bullet point. Now, this I didn't get from a specific article, but I did get this from a couple of YouTubers. You get that kind of feeling and sensation of they're all gradually giving the same message, and that is you want to have constant change to find everlasting love. So, in other words, you don't want it to be boring. You're not going to want to spend the rest of your life with someone who makes you feel. I mean, there are some people out there who might be the contradiction to it, but for the most part, you're going to want to feel a constant sense of change. Like, even if it's as simple as eating different food every night. It could be so that's the behavior portion of it. It could be going out to do different adventures such as skydiving, or if you don't want to be that adventurous, maybe just go to a restaurant you've never been to. That's a brand new behavior. Another thing that you want to look at is changing your looks often. Now, if you can, you want to stay as attractive as you possibly do to your partner. Now, there's different types of partners in the world. They are all attracted to different types of things. So there will be men who love big women and thin women, and there will be women who will love guys with great big arms and skinny legs, and there's gonna be girls who love the skinny mini type of guys. So there's always someone out there for everyone, but just know that however your partner first met you, that's how they most likely are attracted to you and want to see you remain staying. So for example, when you get married in your wedding dress, you want to always be able to fit into that wedding dress. That was one way that someone actually put it to me. So you want a constant change, but you also want a little bit of variety as well. So not just you keeping your body a certain way, but you could probably put on wigs. You can change up your style. You can put on contact lenses. There's so many ways that you can change it, and this is helping to keep the everlastingness of it going. You want constant change. So that is my second point.
And it's interesting because that sounds a lot like someone struggling with companionate love. So companionate love is that you have the bond, the intimacy, you have the commitment. Usually they're like friends first kind of love, but the passion has left, or there's not very strong passion. So kind of going back to your examples of like changing things up to be playful, to be interesting, to kind of ignite that passion. That was interesting.
Yeah, no, I think so too. Like one example that they talk about, and this is Shira Seven's work that I admire greatly. She's one of the people I like to listen to on this topic. If you, for example, as a younger girl date an older man, chances are because he's an older man, he's lived his life, he's not going to want to go out and do certain things with other women because he's already done that. So that's it's a way of keeping everlasting love because he's gonna want you. You're his special prize. You're his little everything, and he lives vicariously through you. He's already lived his own life. I hope what I'm saying is making sense, but um, that's just one way to reflect between looks as well, or even behavior. Actually, I think behavior is probably more. How can I put it? It's probably a better way to do it because if you have a guy who has a mature spirit on him, even if he's young, because there are some surprisingly mature men for their age, he works well with a, I would say, immature girl. That's not doesn't come across in a positive light, but that push and pull, those opposites attracting, that energy attracting. That's kind of what I'm trying to get at. But we are done with that section. Did you want to add anything as well?
I mean, is it okay if I go into kind of like a question?
Sure.
So, with the type of relationship that like Shira 7 has, what kind of relationship would you say it is, like on the scale of passion, intimacy, and commitment?
Let's see. I've got your notes, so let's see if I can.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. It's just that I am not as familiar with the terms. At one point, you wrote down Lemmy, and Lemmy confused me.
Lemmy? Oh, limited. There we go. That's my note.
Okay.
I was tired of
shorthand. Well, she definitely says that in the beginning, her relationship, when she first got married, it was, I would probably say, infatuation. Possibly even fatuous, but it's after so many years, it's probably just come down to plain old companionate, it looks like.
So wait, was it both parties that had that kind of infatuous or infatuate love?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
If you hear her full story, she is one bad bee. One bad shut your mouth. So, but in the beginning, yeah, it was very like newlyweds. So
Because, I mean, not to play devil's advocate or anything, but I think a lot of people, when they hear of Shira Seven and what she kind of promotes, a lot of people would put her on the empty love category, right?
oh,
So that's why I asked, like,
yeah,
for you who has more experience watching her content and hearing her story, you would have a better knowledge of their relationship. I mean, as limited as you can with being
yeah.
an outside viewer.
I can always stalk her. You never know.
Yeah, maybe you could just like text her every day, say how's your relationship going.
Yep, all that good stuff. I'm not creepy for the audience out there. Okay, I am a little creepy, but it's in the proper context. Okay, you have to understand. I'm only creepy when I have to be.
To be fair, most people are kind of creepy, just a little bit. We all have like that like one Facebook stalking moment here in our lives.
Oh yeah, I used to. Okay, this is a freebie for you guys for my creepiness. I used to like look up people's birthdays on their Facebooks just so I could find their astrology stuff. I'm a creep.
You're
But
just
yeah,
building your internal monologue of their life.
I am. I don't have Facebook anymore, so I don't do it anymore, guys. I quit that side of my life a long time ago. But yeah,
Moved on. You've progressed. You're
I
evolved.
have on to bigger and better horizons.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
But sorry for that tangent. You can.
it was a fun one. We had enough time. So this is the last one that I have for you guys. And this is where I actually wanted to sort of play devil's advocate a little bit. And even I read the entire article, but I had a hard time really understanding what I was trying to understand. So, sorry, it's just funny that. I realized that's hilarious. Okay. So, in my notes, I wrote that it is according to science. That's the name of the um, there's no such thing as everlasting love according to science. That's the name of the article. And the quote that I pulled from it says, thinking of love purely as romance or commitment that you share with one special person, as it appears most on earth do, surely limits the health and happiness you derive from love. So, dang it. In V speak,
Mm-hmm.
okay. In V speak, it says you shouldn't depend on the big love. So in German, they have two ways to describe love. There's probably more, but the first one is like little love, and then the second one is like big love. So what I meant by that is you shouldn't depend on the infatuation and the big love to really have love in your life. I think that's kind of what I was getting at. That's why I pulled the quote. Um, I forgot what exactly that they did in the study, but if I remember correctly, basically what they found was that by doing minute things, minute actions, such as, let's say, for example, making your bed, it might not necessarily make you feel love, but it'll make you feel better about yourself. And that's kind of where they were going to. Like, if you want love to happen in your life, and you're constantly wanting and hoping for love, what you're really hoping for is for you to have a good life. So do little things that have nothing to do with what we would associate as love, because it doesn't exist. So that's the devil's advocate that I kind of threw in there. Do you have any questions? I feel like I've explained myself, but I don't know if I have for
So,
that last point at least.
so big love, you're talking about like infatuous love, that like passion and almost commitment, but too quick of commitment.
That's how I would understand it. Big love. Mm-hmm.
Mm, I guess then it goes into my question that I had for you, in that, do you think there is a specific type of love that you need to have to be fulfilled?
Well, if it's coming off of your notes, I mean, I don't know if there's a word for self-love. Types of lovers. Um, if you're just asking my personal opinion, I like storge. Looking at your life, so from slow friend to lover, that's just my preferred preference.
Yeah, storge type of lover, if I remember correctly from that article, was talking more about that it's a long-term love, that even if you're outside of the relationship, you're most likely going to continue to be friends, sort of thing.
Yeah, that would be nice in an ideal world. I don't care. I block everybody that I stop dating. I ghost them. So, I can't fully agree to storge myself, but at the beginning part of it sounds amazing.
But I mean, even with like storge, or I don't know how you pronounce that. We're just gonna have to go with storge.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it most matches the companionate love, right? Where it's like high intimacy and then high commitment, but maybe not that much passion. I think for some people would argue that that's not an ideal love, right? But for some people, that would be more than adequate. So I guess for you, or from our research, right? Do you think it's reasonable to say that there's not a specific type of love that everyone should strive for?
Yeah, I think that makes it because everybody's situation is different. I'm like literally watching this show right now, and I watch tons of shows. It just kind of depends on what happens. Some of them there has always been a love interest, and they're like no love interest for the story. I'm an independent woman. I don't need no prince to save me. So everybody's story is a little bit different. Kind of difficult for me to say. I mean, if you ask personal opinion, then yeah, everybody has their own version of it. Some, and I think this is the most frustrating yet desired kind that we have, is that kind where it's kind of like a push and pull, like opposites attract, and we're just expanding away from each other until all of a sudden, pop, we have to have the lovers' first kiss in a TV show. And then we were like, we've been waiting for like 4 seasons for you guys to kiss. Like, that is the most frustrating, but it's also oddly satisfying. It's so weird. We as humans are a weird species, but it's like thinking about like you think it's too early in the show. We're just like, oh, it's just another thing.
Yeah, the building tension.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of sounds like a lover that's like, oh, what is it? Eros lover, where they need the passion physical and emotional.
Mm-hmm.
I know
Yeah,
I keep
like
going back to my notes. Be like, I'm gonna use a fancy word to explain this.
No, I got it right here. I'm like, she ain't gonna be fancy without me. I'm gonna learn these words. So, what about your stuff here? I know you have a couple of questions for me, but did you want to talk at all about the relationship and amount of dependence?
I mean, yeah, so I think depending on your goal of the type of love you want to experience, like all of these like relationship types have some connection with the amount of dependence you have in the relationship. So for relationships that are more physical based or passion based, the amount of dependence can vary. So for example, if you're an infatuous lover, you're very highly dependent, so you're on like the A scale. But if you are just a, what do you call it? A ludus lover, you're more on the H scale, which meaning you're very independent and can break away freely. I mean, I think if your goal is to have a relationship that lasts a long time, you kind of have to have this like interdependence with each other. So the M scale, where you can survive by yourself because you have enough self-love, what was talking about. I mean, what V was talking about.
We both.
I know, right? It's just your name is so pretty, okay?
So charming.
But so yeah, I don't think personally that there is a type of love that suits everybody. But I do think that if your goal is for a long-term relationship, some of the lover types or the relationship types would work better for that. And I think this goes into the question that I had for you. Do you think the type of love is always the same? Especially for long-term relationships.
I think the longer the relationship, the longer it is, the more likely it is to change throughout the relationship.
Okay.
So you start off as that honeymoon phase when you first get in a relationship and everything's ecstatic and it's amazing. Then you get to that stage where, oh my gosh, we broke the barrier. You just farted around me. And then it goes to the stage of, oh my god, stop farting around me. You're disgusting. And then next thing you know, the two of you are just farting together on the couch. And so you're just like, okay, who cares anymore? We still love each other. And then you turn like 80 and 90 and you have like wobbly booties and you still smack it, even though,
you know, passion's still there, even after all the farts.
Exactly. So it definitely changes, in my opinion, the longer the relationship goes.
Yeah, and I agree with that completely. Like, even going from my own personal experience, I think it wanes and wavers between like different types of lovers, or different types of love, I should say. I think the only consistent part is that commitment is always consistent.
Yeah. You have to choose that every day, like the daily decision.
Yeah. And I mean, that commitment keeps it so that we have a chance to build up intimacy or to build up passion.
Mm-hmm.
I think without that commitment to try or to evolve, long-term relationships, I don't think, are able to last for very much longer.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. It's difficult. You search the world trying to find someone you can just be yourself with. Ultimately, I mean, you can do that with your family, but then eventually as you get older and those hormones kick in, you can't just do that with your family. So, scour the world looking for that one.
Let's hope not.
Yeah, I can't speak for everybody, but
desperate times, you know. But
nasty times. And so we're about 25 minutes in. Did you want to ask your last question, or did you want to end it here?
I mean, did you have anything that you wanted to like touch on before we end?
Well, to answer your question, anyways, I believe that I'm a politician. I believe that the only love is self-love. Because if you have that, you're good, no matter what you do. I know that's not a good answer. It's very. I'm learning. Maybe if we make this video again in like a year, then I'll have a different answer. But right now, I would say self-love. So.
No, I think. Thanks for that. Yeah, I think that's a good way to end it.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty, guys. Round of applause. I hope you enjoyed this. Anything else you want to say, Em?
No, I like chef's kiss to your ending.
Okay. Cheers on top. You guys have a good one. We'll see you in our next video. Bye.
Bye, people.